I remember being a kid and how much I loved gaming. I remember bringing my Game Boy or my DS onto the school bus and playing Pokemon Diamond and Pearl or Sonic Advanced or whatever I could get my hands on. And then I would wait for recess or whenever to be able to game with my friends. We would trade Pokemon. We'd do all kinds of things. We'd talk about gaming, how much we loved it. And then I couldn't wait to get home, turn on my GameCube, and dive back into those worlds. And that continued into adulthood as I became a teenager, getting my first PS3, and how much I loved games like Infamous and Uncharted and The Last of Us, and then getting a PS4 and being blown away at the graphical capabilities and getting insanely great titles, and it felt like they were coming out nonstop. But as I've gotten older and I moved out of being a teenager into a young adult, and now I'm becoming more and more of just an adult, something is changing. And I've talked to my friends about this too, and it's not just me. There's just something that's causing me to game less and less and to not get as excited about gaming as I once did. And others are saying this too. And so I just wanted to make a little video about some of the reasons why I think this is happening in the industry and amongst people of a similar age to me. I think the first reason is that honestly we're getting more games, but it feels like we're getting less quality. And it's more than just the idea of quantity over quality. I think it's actually a lot more than that. I think that in the early stages of gaming, video games advance like super quickly. It's kind of like the first iPhone, or even just phones in general. That technology moves so quick, and between the first iPhone to the next one, to like the 4 to the 5 to the 6, it felt like you were always taking like these giant leaps forward. And now you fast forward to today, and when there's a new iPhone announced, it's like, what did they really change? Like maybe the camera's a tiny bit better, maybe they added like one feature, but it doesn't feel as like monumental. It doesn't feel like these huge shifts like the early iPhones felt, where everyone felt like a crazy new experience that you had to get your hands on. And I think a similar thing has happened in gaming, that early in gaming, technology was moving really quick, and even gaming as an art form was moving really quick, where it went from just having fun like Mario, and you're like, oh, that was fun, I turn it on, play some levels, that was great, to then starting to have stories, and then starting to have really good stories and immersive worlds and games that actually like felt like truly masterpieces that became an art form and a way of storytelling that was more immersive than movies or books or anything else could be, putting you in those main characters' shoes and taking you on a journey with them. And so I think now that it seems like that has kind of slowed down as far as technology advancing, and so we're getting better looking games, but it's only a bit better. Like a jump from a PS4 to a PS5 does not feel as monumental as say the PS3 to PS4 did, or the PS2 to the PS3 did. Like all of those felt like huge jumps in not just graphic capability, but also the capability of being able to tell those stories and create those worlds. And so I think that it's just that we're getting more games that are very similar, because the technology capabilities are not moving as quickly, and so it feels like you're getting experiences you've already had before. So you just get these games that are great games, but they all kind of feel similar because they're not taking those giant steps forward that we were before. And it's not really their fault. It's that technology and the art form is at a place right now where it's not moving and advancing as quickly as it was in the past. And so it's hard to rush out to go and play something and get pumped about something that you feel like you've already experienced before. That as much as I love the PlayStation exclusives and their stories, a lot of them are starting to feel very similar. Not that the stories are the same, but just the kind of game that PlayStation puts out is starting to feel very similar. It all feels like The Last of Us and Uncharted, and you're not having those new crazy experiences that The Last of Us and Uncharted originally brought us. But then secondly, I think another issue is we're in a give me now kind of society. We're in a society that has Amazon Prime, has social media, and is used to getting things instantly and right away. And so that means we want games from our favorite developers now. Like when we're done playing Last of Us 2, we immediately start talking about Last of Us 3 and where the story could go from there. And we're getting like even more updates. Like we are getting a multiplayer game and spin-offs and DLC. And so the developers are feeding into what we're demanding, where we want more games, we want them now. But I think that the gaming world is running into a Call of Duty problem, where for years, franchises like Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed were clearly pumping out games that were high quality games, but they were pumping them out so often that the quality was starting to dip a bit. And many franchises have started doing this. Not that they're pumping out a game every single year, but they're pumping out games more and more often. And as a result, you can see that happening in like the crunch horror stories that happen around studios about the horrible times they had to crunch because the game has to get out and they have to push it, which then also means you spend less time sitting and thinking and tweaking the games. And so you get great games, but often you're getting more of them, and so that quality is lowering. And so it also feels like I don't really have to rush out to play this next thing. It's kind of like the superhero movie genre right now, where it feels like there's so much and it's happening so often, and Marvel especially is putting out so many things that I've just stopped rushing to the theater. That pre-Avengers Endgame, I would make sure that I was there day one in the theater watching the movie because it felt like a crazy event. And now, in all honesty, I haven't gone to many Marvel movies in the theater. I went to No Way Home, I went to Doctor Strange, I went to Black Widow, and I went to enough of those being like, other than No Way Home, it wasn't that monumental anymore, and I'm just oversaturated with it, where it's like, bring me something unique like No Way Home, where you bring all three Spider-Men together and maybe I'll show up, but I'm not rushing out to see them like I once was. And I think that's why games like Zelda continually hold up their quality over time, is because Nintendo is intentional with Zelda. You get maybe one mainline Zelda game per console, and people forget that like Breath of the Wild isn't a Nintendo Switch game, it's actually a Wii U game. We haven't actually gotten a Nintendo Switch Zelda game yet, and we're about to get one. That Zelda intentionally takes a long time to work on its game, so that every time you get a new one, it feels like a crazy new experience that you got to get your hands on. And that's something that most gaming franchises are losing by producing more quicker. And then lastly, I think this does play a part. I think it's also just a part of getting older. I'm 25, and so I've got more responsibilities and honestly a life to live. I love games and I've always loved gaming, but I've hit a point in my life where I personally don't want to waste my life just playing video games. And not that video games aren't fun and don't have their place, but for me, I'm like, if when I'm on my deathbed, I spent most of my time playing video games and not actually going out and experiencing life and hanging out with friends and making those connections and taking care of my responsibilities and like doing things that I want to do in life, then I'm going to feel like I did waste my life. That as fun as gaming is, that it is not the main driver of everything I do in my life like it maybe once was. And so that when I choose to play a game, it's a form of entertainment, especially, and it's something that I still really love, but I'm not going to go out of my way to play a game that's like okay, or maybe even good. Like, I'm looking for gaming experiences that are actually great, because I'm having to ignore other things and spend a lot of time. It's not like sitting down and watching a movie where it's like 3 hours and it's over. It's like games are so long now that you're giving yourself probably a 15 to 40 hour commitment to finish this thing. So if I'm going to do that, I need a game that's actually really good, because that's a huge time commitment. It means it's lots of time where I have to take away from doing things that I really want to do, like starting a YouTube channel, like doing my actual job, like spending time with my fiance, with friends, going out, experiencing the world, doing all those different things. It feels like that those things have to get sacrificed for gaming sometimes, because they are so long and such huge commitments, that I just find myself gaming less. And when I have an experience that I really want to play, like The Last of Us Part 2, like Zelda Breath of the Wild, those experiences are great and incredible. But I find myself when I play a God of War, just honestly for me, the game wasn't that crazy. It kind of felt like The Last of Us, but with God of War. It felt like something that I'd already played a bunch of times, that I just was like, okay, I've played this for 2 hours. I'm not really into this. I don't think I'm going to pick it up again. And same thing for Horizon Zero Dawn. It seems like a great game, but it feels like a game I've already played before, and that's just not at the stage of life I'm currently in, and the mindset that I currently have. That's not something that I'm like really looking to like pour 20 hours into. And so I know it sounds silly to be like gaming is a waste of time, because I don't think it is. I think it's like a form of entertainment, but I also think for me personally, I've just hit a stage in my life where gaming is not my main priority in life, that it's something I really love and enjoy, and even obviously love to talk about, But just the older I get, the less it's a priority. Whereas a kid, you were in school doing whatever, that gaming was like a top priority. And so I acknowledge that as I've gotten older, that's probably moved farther and farther back, where it's not the most important thing in the world to me anymore. But with that being said, I want to know what you guys think. Have you found this to be a similar feeling that you're having, where you're finding yourself gaming less and less and like having less of a desire to game? Do you think that some of my reasons are valid, and maybe there's some of the reasons that you feel are other reasons that you have that I didn't have? I'd be interested to hear in the comments below, and if you disagree, that's totally cool as well. I'd be interested to hear your opinion as to why you're gaming more than ever. Like, comment, subscribe, all that junk, and we will see you guys in the next one.